G'day, wonderful listeners. This is Trev, back again with episode 33 of Trev's Talk. Back in episode 16, I promised to keep you informed on two projects I am trying to develop due to the special dreams and goosebumps, GBs, which I have received as far back as 15 years ago. One project was to establish the Moodage Scholarship Fund, and the other project was to obtain a private pilot licence. Let's take the pilot licence progress first. I want to get the licence so I can fly around the regional country towns, giving talks and getting my book out there into the public. I want to talk on the importance of the Medjugorje phenomenon, which many people are not aware of. And I want to talk on mental illness stigma, holding good people back from their true potential. The medical clearance required for the pilot licence is still being held up by CASA, the Aviation Authority. In episode 16, I mentioned I had put in an official reconsideration for medical clearance, as I had been initially refused twice, even though I had presented a doctor's certificate testifying I was okay to fly planes. And the CASA rule included a phrase whereby they had the power of discretion and could allocate medical clearance using that discretion. CASA states that reconsider applications for medical clearance take from 10 to 12 weeks to finalise, due to the possible need to involve outside expert health practitioners. My application relies on just the one doctor's certificate supplied by me at time of applying, a request for CASA to use the discretionary phrase in their rule, and to consider my past 24 years of high achievement in community work, which was recognised with the awarding of the Order of Australia Medal in January 2021. They have all that evidence at hand and don't need outside experts, so surely they should have got back to me by now, as not 12 weeks have gone by, but 17. As a matter of fact, I started the process to get an aviation medical clearance with an examination and interview with one of CASA's approved medicos way back in early September last year. It's now late August this year, so 11 months have gone into the process so far, and I am still waiting for their ruling on the last request I sent in 17 weeks ago. My request for medical clearance should have been granted when I sent in my doctor's certificate at the beginning of December last year. I was pronounced fit to fly, and I sent in a letter describing a lot of the achievements I had done in the last 24 years. My health and history are fine, so there are shortcomings with the CASA system. This brings you up to date on the progress of the pilot licence project. This enormous amount of time it had taken the bureaucrats at CASA to grant me a medical clearance seems like a joke. I am still being held up 11 months after my initial request for the clearance. If the clearance was being decided by private industry, I feel sure it would have been granted in a month or two at most. When the illumination of conscience I spoke about in previous episodes takes place, all workers will be made aware of their shortcomings, if they have some. If they have been slacking off at their jobs, they will be shamed into improving, and if bosses have been taking unfair advantage of workers, they also will be shamed into changing their behaviour. Bosses and workers will become more honest, and we will have a better world. Business operators that false advertise to get more sales will become ashamed and turn to honesty. Purveyors of pornography will also be shamed into stopping their repugnant behaviour. The illumination of conscience will have powerful effects on everybody, just as my encounter with the Holy Spirit at Medjugorje had a powerful effect on me. I was shown my awful past and was changed forever from that point on. There will be some people that still resist changing their bad behaviour, but because the vast number of people will change for the better, that will isolate the few that resist change, and they will become glaringly obvious to the rest of us, so that we'll take very little effort to live our lives around them and not deal with them until or unless they change for the better. Believe me, we will get a better world. Remember also, there is going to be a supernatural sign suddenly appear on the hill where Our Lady first appeared to the 6 children. Everybody is going to realise that only God could arrange that. The appearance of that sign, when it has been clearly prophesied, is going to be global news. It is going to go viral, as they say. Just imagine the effect on people who have learnt that God is real, suddenly getting an illumination of conscience that they will know has come from a very real God and is powerfully life-changing. Anyway, changing subject, it has now been announced by Prime Minister Albanese that Australia is pushing for a 2-state solution to the Gaza genocide, but he has not announced any sanctions or refusal to send military supplies to Israel. And at the time of recording this, there are protests going all around Australia pleading for a stop to children being starved to death in Gaza. I've been reading a book by Ilan Papp, who points out that Zionist Jews have been trying to push the Palestinians out of Palestinian land for decades. I believe that what is going on in Gaza, while Netanyahu is in charge of Israel, is genocide and ethnic cleansing. Ilan Papp's solution is for a one democratic state, equal rights for Jews and Palestinians. I admitted in a previous episode that I had not taken a lot of notice in the past of all the unrest and instability in the Middle East, but reading the book which spoke of Zionist activities over many decades taught me quite a lot. I've learned that not only are there Zionists in Israel, but in several other countries as well. And most Zionist groups have persecuted the Palestinians and concentrated on dispossessing them from Palestinian land so they could incrementally, over the decades, take it over. However, it is plain to see on the news that many Jews within Israel don't agree with what Netanyahu is doing. I wonder what will happen if the Gaza genocide is still happening when the illumination of conscience takes place. And likewise, I wonder what will happen with the Ukraine war when the illumination of conscience takes place. I believe any wars that are in progress when the illumination takes place will come to a stop. That belief works well with the messages of Medjugorje and Our Lady. She is appearing at Medjugorje under the name Queen of Peace, and she has told the visionaries that her plan is peace for the world. I cannot imagine that God would allow Our Lady's plan to fail. However, I worry that a huge lot of horrible stuff could occur before the Medjugorje messages come out and peace prevails. This is where we need many people praying and turning to God to lessen the horrible stuff. People will still need to learn that the Medjugorje phenomenon is really happening. It is happening. I recommend that everyone should visit Medjugorje if they can possibly afford it and spend a few days there so they can soak up the calm and peaceful vibe that permeates the place. There is nowhere else in the world that has the vibe that Medjugorje has. A trip there can be coupled with a visit to Italy, which is close by. Quite a few of the Eucharistic miracles listed on Carlo Acutis's website, I've mentioned previously, happened in Italy, and the sites where they occurred could be visited, along with heaps of touristy stuff if you did a visit to Medjugorje with a side trip to Italy. Well, wonderful listeners, we are close to the end of this episode. Thanks for your company. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or follow on Spotify. Likes, shares and comments cost nothing and are very much appreciated. Let's reunite again next episode for the latest spiritual unfolding. This is your host, Trev, tuning out for this week.